stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Wow Report. We are here on Hollywood Boulevard, almost live. The Walk of Fame is just behind us. Yes, to the magic of television. I am Tom Campbell, Chief Creative Officer at World of Wonder. I am here every week with the fabulous club kid turned best-selling author and editor of the Wow Report, James St. James.
Yes, our fearless leader is not here today, though.
Fenton is, I've lost track. I think he's in
gallivanting in Asia is what I hear.
All right, I'm sure it's work-related. I'm sure he's making us money as we speak.
Yes.
And sitting in Fenton's seat, where he's usually behind the camera, behind the microphone, is our millennial producer, Blake Jacobs. Blake, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Hi.
Even though
my
Fenton
morning voice.
Oh, I like it. Even though Fenton is
My
gone,
morning voice is like this.
our mission remains the same. We count down the top 10 things that make us go,
Wow.
every week, and this week is no different. Except we're going to start with...
I was going to say, this week is very different.
We're going to start with James at number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10, I went to go see The Spy Who Dumped Me, starring Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon.
Did you go in thinking, I'm going to watch a really good movie? Or did you go in thinking, I am going to tear this thing to shreds?
Well, there was a number of other movies that I was going to see, but I just didn't have the wherewithal to do it. It's the summer. It's the dog days of summer. It's August. I just wanted to see something mindless that would make me laugh. This got 32 stars on Rotten Tomatoes. It's really unfair because it shouldn't get 32 stars. It stars Mila Kunis, who is somebody that we knew at World of Wonder back in the day because she was dating Max. She was dating Macaulay Culkin when Party Monster was happening.
I did not know.
And she, met Mac through Seth Green, who they're friends on Family Guy. So the three of them were buddies, and they all went traveling with us when we went to Tokyo and Berlin and Scotland and London and Outfest in New York. And so she was one of us. So we all were in a little pack together, and she was absolutely adorable. She was the cutest girl. She was just new on. She was just finishing up, I guess, that 70s show.
How old was she, do you think?
I don't know. She was probably in her early 20s, but like a goofy girl, and we all grew to love her. And then we grew to hate her when she broke Seth's heart. But now I've sort of come full
Macaulay's
circle.
heart.
I mean, when she broke Macaulay's heart. Yeah, I'm sorry. Then we all grew to hate her when she broke Macaulay's heart because it was a bad breakup and everything. But I've come full circle, and now I can watch a Mila Kunis movie and just love it. And she does make these movies, these innocuous comedies, along the lines of Melissa McCarthy and Jason Bateman. These people are making comedies that are not reinventing the wheel. It's not screenplay by Dorothy Parker and Ben Hecht, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, nothing wrong with making us laugh.
No. They're just goofy comedies. This is she did Bad Moms Christmas, Ted.
You like Bad Moms.
I did like Bad Moms. I like Bad Moms Christmas. She did Friends with Benefits, if you remember. She does all these comedies that they're reliable. They make a lot of money, and this is sort of a James Bond spoof where she has a boyfriend, Justin Theroux, who turns out to be a spy, and he brings her into this thing, and she accidentally gets caught up in all this shenanigans, and she ends up they go to Prague and Paris and Vienna and Berlin.
So he breaks up with her.
Yes, but he's left something behind, and it's a spy something or other. There's a microfiche or something.
Sure.
I think he might have dumped her.
Yeah, The Spy Who Dumped Me. I'm just thinking, And who's Kate McKinnon in this?
Well, that's just it. Kate McKinnon. They just hired Kate McKinnon, and they've sort of said they didn't write any dialogue for her. They didn't write any scenes for her. They just said, Kate, here's what's happening. Improvise.
Improv, baby.
Do it. Go. And she never really fleshes out a character. Sometimes it seems like she might be a lesbian, but then she's a man hungry, and then but it never really gels.
But is she like her friend? Like, who is she in the movie?
Well, she's the best friend. She's the best friend who's a little over the top. She's a little extra, is what it is. So they let her just
I like extra. Look at me.
and it's exactly what it is. Look at me. And she's the weak link for me because it really never gels. And she's just doing this, wild-eyed Kate McKinnon stuff that's like her worst Saturday Night Live.
I have to interrupt. Would you put yourself in general in the Kate McKinnon fan club?
Yes, I mean,
Still, she disappointed a little in this because I think on Saturday Night Live, she's the reason I watch.
Yeah,
she's
she
hilarious.
is, and when she is on Saturday Night Live, she is like you said, the reason to watch.
Yeah.
But sometimes she does slip into shtick. Like they all do.
We never do that ourselves. We're very pure with our comedy here.
But the takeaway from this movie is Sam Heughan, something like that. He turns out he's the bad guy, then he's the good guy, then he's the bad guy, and then he's the good guy. Sort of like all those, what's the Audrey Hepburn?
Like a charade.
Charade, yes, or Arabesque with Sophia Loren. The Stanley Donen movies, remember?
Yes.
Where you never know who the good guy is and who the bad guy,
Yes.
and they keep switching back and forth.
Yes.
So Sam Heughan, I think, is from Outlander, and he is one of the handsomest men on the planet, and he's being talked about being the next James Bond.
Ooh.
He is absolutely stunning.
Is he British?
He is.
Okay.
But
not this
that,
movie.
yeah. Justin Theroux is not that hot. I don't get the cult of Justin Theroux. I know he bounced. He had the big bouncing penis in that opening scene.
I thought you were in love with him.
The Leftovers, yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I watched the opening scene of The Leftovers to see the dick.
You were in love with him then.
Yeah. But not anymore. There's also a guy, Hassan Minhaj, who was on The Daily Show, and he is so handsome and so hot, and he's funny. And I'm just gonna say this. You can get insulted. We cannot be friends anymore.
I'm fine.
Okay.
With that. Not being friends anymore.
His running joke is that he went to Harvard, and so every single time he gets a chance to drop it into a sentence or into he meets someone within the first 2 minutes, he mentions that he's from Harvard. And that's the running joke, which all people from Harvard do, we know.
Well, Blake, this is funny to me because I actually
You went to
Harvard.
Harvard.
I did. I
didn't know that
graduated.
about you.
Very low grades, but I graduated. I've never known that to be. I mean, it was just one of the most important 5 years of my life. Yeah, it took me 5 years to get through.
One of the other takeaways from it is that Gillian Anderson is in it, and Gillian Anderson looks more beautiful now than she did in the 90s. It's really something that she is such a stunning woman now.
Kind of timeless. It doesn't seem like she ages.
No, it doesn't. But she gets more sophisticated and more lovely and just more charismatic.
I may have to go see this so it's better than the 36 tomatoes or whatever it got.
Well, it will be on TBS 5 times a day.
I need to see it on TBS.
Yeah, I need to be in my
underwear.
Now, your assistant said that it was like watching Lucy and Ethel.
It is. There is a very sort of timeless comedy to it, and they work together very well. There was a reviewer on Rotten Tomatoes who said, Mila was meh, looks pathetic in pants. She really should wear dresses more often. She is not a big deal. But I don't know. That was
It's not easy being on the screen, is it?
No.
Well, that's okay. So that is The Spy Who Dumped Me playing at theaters now.
Go see it. Go do it.
All right.
Just give it a shot.
James,
thanks
for giving us permission. Let's move on to number 9.
Number 9.
This is a tiny bit old news. We didn't record last week, but I went to the Hollywood Bowl. Sometimes they restage musicals on the Hollywood Bowl, and they're spectacular. This one was a remake of what I realize is
probably the best musical of all time.
Annie.
Dumb dog, why are you following me?
You're singing the movie. Now, let me get out, because I've seen the movie with Cara Burnett. I know there's been the one after that on
Kathy
ABC.
Bates,
Is that the one you saw?
That was, are you talking about the one with Cameron Diaz?
And then there was
Jamie Foxx, Jamie Foxx, Kevon Zvene,
Devolish.
Yes.
Yeah. And I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I might now. But I grew up in the 70s with the soundtrack to the original
Andrew
Broadway
McCardle.
thing. And even though I never saw it, we would play it. We'd put the speaker in my sister's bedroom window, and we blasted across the backyard to our above ground pool, which was sunken in the backyard, so you couldn't tell it was an above ground pool.
Ooh.
I mean, this is before I went to Harvard. So I come from class. But we would just sit with my cousin Candy and my sister Amy, and we'd go, maybe far away or maybe real nearby. And there was something in the 70s, people forget, but the 70s was all about the we had 2 huge recessions. There was gas prices, and this was set in the Depression of the 30s and the 70s.
it really resonated.
It resonated with people, and the idea that there was tomorrow, and this music is unforgettable. Anna Gasteyer, speaking of Saturday Night Live, played Mrs. Hannigan.
So good.
And she did a really good job.
Yeah, she's perfect for it.
She did a really good
Better
job.
than Cameron Diaz.
But I've started
For
listening
sure.
to the original soundtrack again, and there's Dorothy Loudon, who a lot of people don't know her name. I played that for you.
Yes.
She was the original Mrs. Hannigan, and there's a performance on the Tony Awards from 1977. Go to YouTube, Annie, and watch. It's a medley, but watch Dorothy Loudon do "Is This Street? Is This Street?" She's from Claremont, New Hampshire, a town over from where I grew up. So we just thought she was the best thing ever, and she won the Tony that year. Andrea McArdle. There have been many Annies, including Sarah Jessica Parker.
I saw Sarah Jessica Parker on Broadway one of the first Broadway shows I ever saw. I saw Evita, Annie, and Sophisticated Ladies with Phyllis Hyman and Judith Jamison and the not the Ritz brothers.
You didn't see Mary Martin in South Pacific.
I didn't. No, I did see Pirates of Penzance with Rex Smith and Linda
Linda
Ronstadt.
Ronstadt.
Yes. Oh my God, it was like such a magical time. But then I went back. I think I was like 4. I must have been 16 because I was driving. And my little sister, who was 10, we went to go see the movie every single day for like 25 days.
Of Annie.
To this day, I know every song. I know every lyric. I know every word. I know I love it so much.
Did y'all have a movie pass?
No, we just.
Millennial producer.
know.
He had to buy a ticket at the theater and wait in line.
But it has a really
the
special
movie
place
always
in
let
my
me
heart.
down because I was so locked into the soundtrack. And for the movie, I was reading about this. John Huston directed it, which is an odd choice when you think about it.
But he had a way with the orphans twirling and swirling and going up and down the stairs and everything like that. What's
But
that
they
one?
killed. No, but we got Annie.
No. It's in the very beginning with nobody wants to be an orphan or something.
I know you're gonna like it here. Do they do that song? See, that's from the Broadway show.
Oh no, that's a good one. No, they do that.
But they also don't do NYC, which is the best song ever, which is Daddy Warbucks. It's in the movie. It's at the movies or something.
Yeah,
it's
going
going
to
to the
see
movies.
the Camille Garbo.
But NYC. And there's another little tidbit. I think when Annie was remade in the 90s, Sutton Foster, who's on Younger, that show I love, and who's this big Broadway belter, there's a part in NYC. I might be getting too
you
obscure.
showed me this,
Yes,
yes.
where it's a whole song about Annie and Daddy Warbucks and whatever, and it was great. And David Allen Greer played Daddy Warbucks at the Hollywood Bowl, and Leah Salong, is that what you call her, from Miss Saigon, was the secretary. Anyway, someone steps out.
Anne Rankin's role in the movie.
And yes, she was the secretary. But someone just comes out and belts NYC. Like there's one coming off the bus, and it's this like showgirl thing. And it was Sutton Foster. I think it was her big break.
Yeah,
but it's just like, and I told you, I can only imagine that part where you're just on for like a minute and a half and you kill. That she's probably just waiting backstage the whole time, knitting a scarf, and then she goes out like NYC. Anyway, the bowl show is over. It happened. It was amazing.
Well, maybe somebody's. Sometimes they film those things and it ends up on Netflix or something.
But I kind of want to watch the Jamie Foxx version now. I kind of want to go back and see the one with Cara Burnett.
I think you would go back. I think you would enjoy it. I think you if you were fighting it in the beginning, maybe you had enough time to mellow a
I
little
think
bit.
that's the one that kids when I was young watched. I never actually.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
I hope I've inspired you.
You musical hating millennial.
And the last thing about it's such a simple musical and it can be so maligned, but you know what? They have hits. Every song is memorable.
With the
Hard Knock Life. You're never fully dressed
without a smile.
We're getting to do it for Christmas. And Easy Street and Little Girls. And it also, they are shameless. They will sing Tomorrow 4 times in that movie. They're just like, this is a hit song, baby. We're going to keep singing it. So if you have a moment, everybody has a different Annie they love, but take a moment in these dark times and be refreshed by the optimism
I love me
of
some
Annie the musical.
Yeah,
All
really
right.
good stuff.
All right, we are moving on to number 8.
Number 8.
James.
That's me again.
I know, but Blake, jump in.
Well, this is one that because of you, I feel like I poo-pooed you a little bit. I feel like I was rude to you. I feel like I sniffed my nose in the air when you were talking about Cozi TV the other day. And I
Need TV, get TV.
Here we go again. Let's all watch some Cozi TV. But I did. I went and I took your advice. I went up to, it's channel 1294 is someplace in the nosebleeds where I've never been before. I went went up there. There's Cozi, there's Antenna, there's Kazaa, something like that. And they're all right next to each other, and they all have basically the same formatting, the same programming, where it's like from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. It's like TV from every genre, every era. I went through and I taped some Charlie's Angels. I taped some Munsters. I taped some Partridge Family. I did some soap. I did Love Boat. I was just in there. I was madly just red dotting everything. Okay. I did watch, and it's some of it is surprising.
What holds up?
Well, that's just it. Partridge Family holds up. The Munsters holds up. Soap is one of the best shows that's ever been made.
I haven't seen that since
ever.
it was on.
It really does hold up. It's really fantastic. Some stuff that doesn't hold up, and I'm going to go there. I'm just going to say it. I watched a Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and people, the late night comics point to that as the golden age of talk television. It is just awful. It is terrible. It rambles. It goes nowhere. They don't have the format figured out. They don't have it punchy.
Well,
and
it wasn't
fun.
as pre-produced.
It wasn't as pre-produced, and I'll tell you something.
Kind of like our show. It wasn't pre-produced.
No, but what happens is he didn't know to put the big stars first and to give them the pow, and then the lesser stars as it goes along. There was a pig farmer who came on. She was the first star.
Was she a hog collar?
No,
I love when they have hog collars.
She had a pig, and she brought it on, and then they all talked about the pig, and it was 2 segments. He gave her 2 segments at the top of the show. It was obvious, painfully obvious in the first 30 seconds that the interview was going nowhere, and by the end, they're just sort of looking at each other and looking at the pig for like 4 minutes, waiting for the time to run out. Then Bruce Jenner was on, and that's the reason why I taped this one, because I thought, well, that's sort of fascinating. Well, Bruce comes on, and Bruce is at the very end, and they give him like 3 minutes, and he doesn't have anything to talk about. He doesn't have anything to say. And they just sort of look at each other. And there wasn't the witty repartee that you think Johnny Carson is famous for.
He was on every night.
He was on every night.
So I'm sure there's some good nights and bad nights, but I have to remind you what you already know, which is there were 3 channels in PBS.
And so there were no choices.
Nobody had a remote control.
Yeah.
When you were watching The Tonight Show, you were in bed.
Yeah.
So you weren't getting up to change the channel.
So he had complete control. He was in charge.
Yes.
And the fact is that they didn't, once David Letterman came on, they realized that they would do punchy little stupid human segments. They would do these funny little segments to break everything up and to keep it running. And they realized, you put the good person first, and then as it gets, but they didn't have any of that figured out. For 30 years, he was on the damn channel, and they never bothered to figure out how to format to keep people interested.
You're judging. I mean, you're watching it today, and that's good, and you're giving a modern perspective. But you're judging an artistic product 40 years later.
Well, okay. By the same token, I watched Bionic Woman and Charlie's Angels.
Okay, let's get serious. Let's talk about some literature.
No. But the fact is that these were hour-long shows, and they didn't really understand how to do an hour-long television. They treated it like a 3-act play, where it just goes on and on and on and on, and they pack in so much dense dialogue that literally it's now we know that you can stretch it out. You can have a 10-minute chase scene. You can have a funny minute shtick.
Right.
They didn't realize that they really packed a lot in, and it's.
So I'm trying to spin this up into something positive, but are you saying that today we live in the golden age of television?
We do.
Oh.
We do. We really know how to package things now, and we know how to pace things and everything that they didn't know back then.
And TV is pretty young, still. Back then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in the 70s, but you would think that from the 50s to the 70s, they would have learned something, but they really didn't. But it's still nice to see Jamie Summers. It's still nice to see Chris and Kelly and from Charlie's Angels and Bosley.
Oh, Chris and Kelly. Chris and Kelly is a former executive.
I know.
Cozi TV.
Cozi
it's there whenever you need it.
And like I said, so much of it, you can still watch The Munsters. You can still watch The Addams Family. You can still watch, I Dream of Jeannie, which nobody shows anymore because it's all, slave and master.
Yes, master.
Yeah, no. They don't show that hardly ever on, any other channel. Yeah. You can still see Gilligan's Island everywhere, but I Dream of Jeannie is something you really have to search out.
There's a theme emerging of sort of deep nostalgia, and I like it. Let's keep it going. When times are tough, let's get deep in our nostalgia. We have to take a little break. Before we do, we have a little trivia question to keep you going. Don't worry. So, Blake, what do you have for us?
Justin Theroux, who is in The Spy Who Dumped Me, he co-wrote this Oscar-nominated film with Ben Stiller and Ethan Coen. What was the film?
What?
A very tough question, but we will think about it and we will answer it when we get back. You're watching the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM, or you're listening to it. We're on YouTube. Okay, bye. We'll be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
We're back. It's the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. I'm Tom Campbell. I'm here with James St. James. We have Blake joining us here at the table today. Hello, Blake.
Hi, y'all.
And we are in the midst of counting down the top 10 things that make us go,
wow.
Wow. So without further ado, a little bit of ado. We did a little trivia question before the break.
Oh, yeah.
You have to restate the question because I don't know the question or the answer. Go.
So Justin Theroux, who's in The Spy Who Dumped Me, he co-wrote this Oscar-nominated film with Ben Stiller and Ethan Coen. What was it?
What was the Ben Stiller thing where it was like with
it was the remake of the Danny Kaye movie.
let's do that one.
Wait, what was that? That was
the Walter Mitty. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
No, it was Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
what? Justin Theroux wrote Tropic Thunder?
I know. I thought that was wacky.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that he co-wrote anything.
I didn't know he co-wrote anything. I didn't know Tropic Thunder was nominated for an Oscar.
Me either.
I just know he's a big floppy.
Big floppy penis.
That's all I know. All right.
That's all that we really need to know.
All right, that's
and
good.
I don't like his eyebrows. I'm not a fan of his eyebrows. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't like his eyebrows.
Love him or hate him, James is a truth teller.
He is.
Isn't he? He really says it like it is. All right, we're going to move on, if I may, to number 7.
Yes.
Number 7.
Now, things that make us go, wow, it can be in pop culture, whatever. I was reading an article, I've not been myself.
Well, I was going to say, I think that...
At LAX, there is this VIP suite for celebrities and important people.
Where the Fenton is right now, as I'm thinking.
It feels like a Fenton thing, if it's anybody. It costs $4,500 a month. And you get to check into the suite. You get to avoid the paparazzi. You get to go through your own security. You can take a shower. You can book massages. There's still separate suites. There's an outdoor area for your children. You get to watch the planes come and go, which they make it sound like that's exclusive to these private suites. It's like, if you park on Slauson and Lincoln, you can watch the planes go. And I can't help but think, first of all, for a minute, I'm like, $4,500, I'm going to join. And I think that's not $450. I really get confused between hundreds and thousands. Like, that's a lot of money. But you do want to do it once.
Well, wait, is this why because as a blogger, I used to see a lot of celebrities coming and going from that was a big thing. So celebrities fashion at the airport fashion. Well, I don't see that anymore.
I'm getting a lot of this from the article in Architectural Digest, which has really gone downhill if they're doing this. But it is supposedly, if you haven't seen Kim Kardashian in the airport lately.
That's what I'm saying. We used to see the Posh Spice go through in and out once a week.
Gaga.
But I also think they're all doing private jets. So they're going in and out of
Van Nuys.
Yes. Now, Gavin DeBecker, remember him? He's the big security guy. He was like Princess Diana. He's like this big, and he has his consulting company. He's kind of handsome. He was around during the OJ thing, I think. Anyway, or the Mike Ovitz thing, his company.
Wait, Mike Ovitz killed somebody?
Put this together. No, well, this is like stuff. But I'm being vague in my memory. But his company's this, and it's an Architectural Digest, so it's kind of good looking. And it's the first one in America like this. And there's stuff like this in Dubai and other places. Here's my deal. I don't want to spend an extra second at the airport. No, I get the idea of...
I don't care how classy it is. I don't want to be there.
I want to get there 2 hours early so I can get a massage. I guess if you're in between flights, but... And then, if there's a layover or something, but if you're taking an indirect flight, then you're not rich enough. And once I land, I will do anything to get, I've been in that too, but I know it's first class and it's more comfortable. But I want to get out. The cool thing is...
Do you fly first class a lot?
No. I became a Virgin America guy, and now it's Alaska.
Oh, I love Alaska.
So I'm usually
Those seats in Alaska are just wonderful.
I'm usually good with I'm in the 2 seats in coach that have leg room. That's where I go a lot.
The exit row?
Yes, but it's fan. We don't think of it just like that. We think of it as free snacks and things like that.
Well, on the Southwest flights, we call it the exit route.
Anyway, we who went to Harvard like to go to Alaska. Damn you. The cool thing now, if you could pay for this, I would be kind of into this, which is because bypassing the lines and stuff, or they drive you from these private suites to.
I was going to say that because if there's just one, it's got to be like in the middle of it's got to be far away from wherever you are.
But that feels there's a great picture of like Zsa Zsa Gabor coming off a plane. They used to walk down the stairs even with private in the 50s with her matching alligator suitcase and some South American boyfriend. That fantasy is appealing to me. Yes, darling. I don't know how you get on. Do they walk up? Do they have to zoop up? But and here's a lesson for everybody who flies, coach and whatnot like I do, which is people get so, get it. You're not in control when you fly. You're not driving it. You don't know how it works.
I am a control freak.
I don't even know how an airplane works, quite frankly. It's a miracle. It's like Jesus walking on water for me every time a plane takes off.
Well, it is.
And if we're delayed 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, people freak the fuck out. I just want to remind you that our ancestors used to die of childbirth or freeze to death and eat each other while taking a covered wagon across America. So why do people just chill the F out?
Well, you know me, though. You were 2 minutes early, and I was angry because I was 3 minutes early. I like timeliness. I think punctuality is the courtesy of kings. I think that it's something that everybody should be, I don't like when people who this is your job to get off the ground at a certain time and people are waiting on you. Why do you sit there and dawdle in the cockpit eating your bugles and Pringles while the rest of us are have places to go?
Sweating in the back.
That's quite a painted picture of why things late. I remember once I was taking a red eye, and this is a point where I was flying a lot, and I literally had to land and go to a meeting, and it was going to mess me up. But I was like, they were like, it's like mechanical problems.
It isn't mechanical problems.
All right, they're all against you.
they're just sitting up front. They're having a beer.
You are the Donald Trump of air flight. They're all against you, aren't they? Blame Hillary. Blame Obama.
It's Obama's fault. Obama fucked up the FCA.
Anyway, if you have $4,500 and you want to join the private suites at LAX, call me. And tweet me and invite me along. I want to see it, but I don't want to join.
I think you can do it without being a member too. You just have to pay a little more.
I was going to say, because I started noticing in New York about 3 years ago that they have little tiny suites that are just like, it's like a bed and a TV, and it's like about the size of this table, and you can rent it if you have a long layover.
Oh, that's nice.
I'd live there. That sounds like my apartment. Is there a
TV? It does sound like my apartment too. But I did notice they started having those. I saw them in New York, and now they're having a few in LA, and it's like they're
because it's the worst whenever you're like ready to go, and you're like the last flight of the night, and then they're like they drag you along, and then they're like, oh, this flight's canceled.
Yeah,
and then you have to like go get a hotel room, and then be back at the airport by like 6 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, I usually just sit in the airport all night.
I can't do that.
Huh. Sit in the airport all night. Well, I'd already wrapped up the story and moved on, but you guys started talking again, so I'm just going to say, what do we have at number 6?
Number 6.
Number 6, on Netflix, I saw a TV series called Dark Tourist, which is sort of fascinating. It's David Ferrier, something. He's a British guy. He's very charming, as British men usually are. He visits mad, macabre, and morbid places around the world. He goes to holidays and disaster zones. He goes to battlefields, concentration camps, military run. He goes to a military run shooting range in Cambodia.
I'm slow, but this is not a drama. This is an actual reality show.
It's a reality show.
And a British one.
A British one,
okay.
Where he travels to places where nobody else wants to go. He goes to he at one point he crosses the U.S.-Mexico border as an illegal immigrant to show you what the experience is. He
flies coach on Southwest. That's the only choice.
There you go.
I do that.
He visits an irradiated Japanese ghost town that was deserted after the Fukushima nuclear disaster, and he keeps going further and further into the radiation zone with a Geiger counter to show, and it keeps going crazier and crazier and crazier. And he's going with like a whole group, a busload of tourists that does this, and they see how far they're willing to go before they start freaking out because the Geiger counter is going so crazy and they're getting such a radiation in them. He interviews, at one point he goes down to South America and interviews Pablo Escobar's assassin, and he spends the day with him about learning how to, assassinate people, and they try it out on dummies and things like that. And he gets, at one point he goes to Charles Manson's best friend, and when they were growing up together and they spend the day together, he does, they go on a JFK death tour in which they dress up like Jackie O and the president and the Secret Service, and they get in an open air car and do the ride around.
Who dresses as Jackie O? Is he? Is there cross-dressing?
I think he was JFK.
Sounds like a challenge.
How this popped into your... It's a good one. How it pops into your feet. I thought it was cross-dressing. So is like all amazing UK series, are there 3 episodes total or something?
No. I think there's 8 episodes. Yeah. And it's each one, some of them get really uncomfortable, and they are really strange and macabre and weird. But it's interesting that it's just a fascinating thing to do, because he just says, that we're all such, used to going to luxurious places and resorts and this and that. And this is something that really challenges people, and really it's
I wonder what he does if his flight's a little bit late. I'm just curious if he talks about that in the show. How many did you see? Did you watch them all?
I did. I watched them all.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and they were. It was good. I enjoyed it, and he's very charming and he's always like, he's a befuddled Englishman.
Yes.
You know how they are. And that's what I did Saturday night.
I love it. So you recommend it?
I do recommend
Several
it. Yeah.
thumbs up.
Yeah, Dark Tourist.
All right, Dark Tourist on Netflix. Check it out. Moving on to number 5.
Number 5.
Okay, for number 5, I wanted to talk about, you know who Travis Scott is?
He is Kylie Jenner's baby daddy.
Right.
And a big rap star.
Yes.
I don't think he was a big rap star until he became Kylie Jenner's baby daddy.
Well,
sometimes I don't understand these rap stars. Who's the one with the pink hair and the
Nicki Minaj.
Tekashi 69. Tekashi 69 just bought a $49 million.
I don't get it either.
He has a $49 million mansion that he just bought. He's always going around in like $10 million worth of jewels like that. He's never had a hit song. He has a mixtape out there. How do you get a $49 million mansion? How do these people do it?
3 words. Good credit score.
But how do I have such terrible credit? And these rappers,
okay,
these Tekashi 69s, these Tenacious before he died, the one who was
XX
Nation, the one who was murdered. He had just bought $100 million mansion, and he just had a mixtape that's not even his own music.
I see Russian money laundering. Let's put a pin in this for another show.
I'm sorry.
Blake, I have a feeling this was nothing about what you wanted to talk about.
No.
I wonder if we're going to make the radio show, quite frankly.
I do agree, though. But Travis Scott is Kylie's baby daddy, and he just released his 3rd album. And for the cover photo, he had David LaChapelle,
old friend, Wow Celebrity, David LaChapelle,
fantastic photographer,
do the cover.
And David has a certain style that we all is very pop.
If you saw it, you would know
it's
it.
Color.
Right.
And he usually uses a lot of the same characters and a lot of the same leitmotifs.
And one of them is Amanda Lepore, another wow celebrity that friends with James.
Her, one of the great icons of all time.
She was photographed for the album cover, but when the album came out, she was removed.
Well, let's back that up a little bit. She was photographed with a laser beam coming out of her ass. Right?
Sure.
Okay. And
hasn't?
there were some other strippers on there, but she is the one that your eyes go to immediately, which is what David has since come out and said. And first of all, Amanda came out and said that she was very hurt by this, and she was like, "Why am I taken out?" Because she was taken off the cover, and she was
she was cool about it.
She was a little butthurt, and it wasn't butthurt because of the laser beams.
Hey.
She was a little butthurt, and she did come out on Instagram, and she said, "Why was I taken out?" And then David came out and said it was because when you look at the album, your eyes go straight to Amanda, and it was sort of distracting.
But before that, there were 2 days of speculation, like, what the hell? Is Travis Scott transphobic? Blah, blah, blah. So he released a statement saying, of course not, blah, 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 and then said the same thing that David LaChapelle said, that Amanda your eye went to her. And
Is Travis in the picture?
Well, it's a giant head of Travis Scott,
and all those people around.
It looks like the Legion of Doom coming out of the pond. Remember from Super Friends?
Yes.
And so,
whoop whoop whoop.
But then there are like strippers all around, like little tiny strippers around the big head, and one of the strippers is Amanda, and one of them looks like I don't know. Anyway,
I was following the controversy. I looked at the picture quickly. There's some talk that it might be part of a special edition of it or something.
Oh yeah, I think like on the inside booklet, she's like all in that and stuff. But
they're not buying. The people, the trans activists and people are slamming Travis and David LaChapelle hard. I don't know Travis. We know David LaChapelle.
Well, I don't.
And he seems like such a friend of all the LGBTQ+.
Why did they release the picture with Amanda before?
I think it was leaked. I think it might have been leaked,
Okay.
and then the final image came out, and it didn't have her. And I think a lot goes into an album cover, and a lot of people have a lot of say into it, as we know that. So it probably went through 40 different people before they settled on the image.
I'm in the mood today to spin things up and be positive, which is let's think that this controversy brought Amanda Lepore's name to people's lips in a way it wouldn't have. I'm not going to buy that album. I'm probably not going to see that album cover. But I
think a lot of rappers now know who she is. Yes.
Right.
And a lot of young people, and that's a good thing.
I did see TMZ stop Neo in the street and asked Neo what he thought about it. And Neo said, listen, the LGBT community, they are here and they are not going anywhere. And if the rappers are the only people on the planet who don't realize that, then they got to get on board with it because the times are changing and there is time for a trans icon in rap. And they said, do you want to do it? And he said, no, but the person who does it is going to, break a lot of boundaries and it's going to, So I think that's interesting that it's bringing the conversation to people.
And it's great that there are people that speak up, that protest. It's just, as long as you don't get embittered by it, because I can't help but think, and I'm such a one-note guy, but like David LaChapelle is not our enemy.
Not right.
And I know I'm not trans, but I'm saying the LGBTQ, the greater cause.
I don't think Travis Scott is our enemy either.
I don't think so either.
No.
So it's like it's good to have the conversation. People have to break some eggs to make an omelet and have a conversation, but let's not lose sight of the real.
And I don't think,
Mike
frankly,
Pence.
that Amanda Lepore is really too hurt about it. I think Amanda, I think there's so much going on in her life that she just sort of was, I'm not there. Why wasn't I there? And then she went on to, painting her nails and
looking fantastic.
Brushing her hair.
Wherever she goes.
Yeah, brushing her wig out. I think that, I don't think Amanda worries that much about
Speaking of Amanda's
these
looks, I just read her entire book this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
And there's the funniest story in it.
Oh, no.
She had fallen downstairs or down an elevator shaft or something and was just
Hilarious.
She was bleeding
from the head. And this was during the day when Blood Feast and all those parties were the big thing. Who happens to walk by but our very own James St. James, and he goes, "Oh my God, Amanda, you look amazing."
Amanda's lying on the sidewalk, crawling down the sidewalk, and begging for help, crying for help. And I walk by and I'm like, "Oh my God, great look." And she's like, "James, help." And I'm like, "You're really committed to the role, honey. You're really doing great." And she tells the story of the book, and I come off like the biggest villain on the planet.
So get her book, Doll Parts. It's really good.
That's the takeaway. Get Amanda Lepore's book. Read about James St. James, the animal that he is. We're going to take a little break. We're going to be back for more. Before we do, Blake, what's our trivia question?
What Wow-lebrity wrote Amanda Lepore's first single, 2003's Deeper?
Wow. What
Wow-lebrity
wrote Amanda Lepore's first single,
Deeper, in 2003.
We'll find out the answer to that as we continue counting down the top 10 things that make us go, wow. It's the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
All right, we're back. We're in Hollywood. We are counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow, this week. I'm Tom Campbell here with James St. James, Blake Jacobs filling in for Fenton Bailey. Fenton, hurry back. Right before the break, Blake asked us a somewhat difficult trivia question. Yeah. Do you know the answer?
I've got many options here.
Repeat the question, please, Blake.
Which Wow-lebrity wrote Amanda Lepore's 2003 single Deeper, which was her first track?
And a Wow-lebrity is somebody who, works
wow
or
famous.
We know at World of Wonder, yeah.
Well, because I know she's done a lot with Caswell. I know she's done a lot with Peace Biscuit, Bill Coleman, who's an old friend. I'm just going to say Big Frida? I don't know.
I'm going to say RuPaul.
Close and close, Lady Bunny.
That is funny.
Deeper. What's it about?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
All right, we've been counting down the top 10 things, and we are at the number 4 slot.
Number 4.
Guys, again, this made me go, wow. I had never heard of it. Maybe you have. It's called extreme embalming. It's a new trend, a growing trend in funerals where, I have trouble thinking of just an open casket where they embalm you and everyone says, oh, it looks so good. This is about kind of turning your corpse into a action figure. So suddenly people they're dying, they're getting embalmed. It started in Puerto Rico, but it is sweeping its way to the States. A lot in New Orleans. Maybe this will be.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's in New Orleans.
Yeah, it started in Puerto Rico though. And they will, if somebody liked to drink beer and smoke cigarettes, they'll put them in their members only jacket and have them sitting at the table with a pounder and some Marlboro Reds at a table at the party. So
it's very Weekend at Bernie's.
It kind of reminds me of those old, back in the day, you used to always take the last photo with your dead relative.
Oh, back in the 1800s,
Right.
back in the 19th century when they would do the corpse pictures, right? And they would just sort of prop them up, and Aunt Bessie and Uncle Walter would sit next to you, and they would just pretend like he was still alive.
Right.
Up until this point, I really thought I would get cremated. And I guess I could still, but now I kind of. So part of me is repulsed by this, and it seems so low. There's another picture of a guy who's obsessed with the Green Lantern. So he's just like, and by the way, it's like a Halloween costume. He's like a Green Lantern Halloween in the corner of the room. There's another guy who loved his motorcycles. He was on one of those crotch rockets, all stiff as a board, but looking great. So I guess you could go out. This is so James St. James.
Because I was thinking, because for a long time, women are always, they want their hair done and they want to wear their prettiest dress and everything like that. And this is just an extension of that. I think drag queens would want to be on stage in their most fabulous outfit. I can see that it's something that you want people to remember you in your milieu, in your where you were comfortable.
But can't they just play an old performance?
Well,
why?
No, but you want to be, when you're dead, you want to be part of the party. You want to still be included. You want people to still remember you.
I don't know if I want anyone to see me dead.
Oh, you're gonna look great.
Well, I know.
You'll have lost 10 pounds by then because they'll just snatch it back. I do think, weddings and funerals are oftentimes the best party you ever have in your life, and only one of them you're at. And if you're like me, you never have a wedding. But saying weddings is when it's when people drop whatever they're doing. It's, especially the first marriage, Donald Trump. But and funerals, for my parents, it's just like they've been these beautiful days. You're so sad, but you're like, oh my God, everybody, there's so much connection in the room, and people have such lovely things, and it's just.
But I do also.
So
remember,
why not be there in a members only jacket and a pack of cigarettes?
There are
I'd be outside smoking.
How did Blake die? Lung cancer. God forbid. No, but I love Tom died of alcoholism.
No, I'd be out in the backyard smoking pot.
No, honey, you'll be a precinct.
I love it. You go out into where's Blake?
That's where I usually am at family functions.
He's going to be sitting on the toilet with a cigarette.
You're in the bathroom. You're in the shower.
With a People magazine.
With a Glade candle.
A match in my hand.
Extreme embalming, for those of you just tuning in. That's what we're talking about, extreme embalming. Would you ever do it, or what might be your scenario?
Well, see, the thing is, I was just going to say, the only time that I've ever been to an open casket funeral, the only couple times, they're so waxy and weird looking, and you always say that doesn't look like Uncle Frank. Mm-hmm. That's just so weird. It's disturbing and upsetting. I don't know that the technology is there that we're going to look exactly like we did.
How do I say this so I don't upset James? There are photos of you. There's out and about in the prime of your party life where you looked a little waxy. You would do maybe a lighter foundation than normal. So I'm just saying, you might want to recreate.
I look embalmed,
you
whatever.
Might, occasionally, not and beloved. I don't know. It just made me go, wow. It does feel like the funeral business is a huge business. This feels like something maybe World of Wonder
Needs to get in
should
on
get into, because it's about, you know how when you go to parties, everybody wants to have those tableau pictures now. My friend John Gannon, a lot of people do them, but like does these really high end, like it's sponsored by
and
tequila,
you're doing
and everyone's like in the
the
middle
Norman
of
Rockwell photo of carving
or
the
a
turkey,
Broadway show, or they're all like,
or the Last Supper, or something.
Why not turn your funeral into a viral moment, a photo op.
Your final Instagram picture.
My account is now closed. Extreme Embalming. I don't have a place to send you, but New Orleans, check it out. There's lots of articles. Extreme Embalming. I think it's the wave of the future, and I hope
all three of us.
I hope you heard it here first. We're gonna.
I'm sitting here at the radio in front of our.
We are on YouTube for those of you listening, and you can watch us. And we look a little waxy. We look a little. Could you be smiling?
That's the thumbnail.
This is some good radio. Let's move on in our countdown to number 3, James.
Number 3.
I watched Bombshell, the Hedy Lamarr story on Netflix. Mm-hmm. This is something I think
is that 3 for 3? Is that 3 for 3?
No. It's 2 for 3 this time. But anyway, I really think you'll like this one. She's a fascinating woman. I don't know if you know the whole Hedy Lamarr story. She was a movie star back in the 1930s. One of the most beautiful women ever to grace the silver screen.
I've heard her name, but only probably because of you.
You've heard her name on Bugs Bunny. You've heard her name on I Love Lucy. There was a great scene where she came out in the White Cargo. She did a movie called White Cargo, where she had a great line, "I am Tondaleo." She was a African princess or Caribbean queen or something like that. I am Tondaleo. It's you
on the Lucy show.
Oh, yes, Lucy said that, but it's a famous line that people
she was
doing Tondaleo. I am Tondaleo.
Right.
Anyway, she was born in Vienna, Hungary. Austria. No. She was born in Vienna, Austria. She married a munitions expert, a manufacturer during the war. She did a movie in Austria called Ecstasy that became very famous. It's the first time she's swimming naked across a river. And it's the first time we've ever seen a nude woman.
Was there sort of even underwater photography or something?
There was some underwater. Yeah. You see tits. You see bush. You see everything. It's crazy for the 1933, right?
Early, before the movie code.
Yeah, before the Hays Code.
Yeah.
And it was an international, people were outraged, and she just became one of the biggest stars on the planet. That brought her to Hollywood because she was so famous. But then when she came to Hollywood, nobody really knew what to do with her. She had a sort of a thick accent. It was during the war, during the war era. She did Algiers, White Cargo, Samson and Delilah. She was very famous.
Exotic roles.
Very exotic. She looked sort of like Vivian Leigh, is what I always think of.
Yeah.
She had that same sort of, just a perfect
yes.
beauty. She... At the same time, during World War II, when rolls were drying up, she became an inventor.
I've heard of this.
Now,
Keep
this
going.
is really fascinating. She came up with an idea of frequency hopping, which is to help guide missiles from torpedoes in submarines, okay? And the idea of frequency hopping is what Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS use now. She is really the mother of the modern technology, the mother of modern internet. She never got any money for this. She patented it, but the patents were lost in time. Nobody ever really realized that she is the reason why we have all this technology today. The role sort of dried up in the 50s and 60s. At one point, she was a recluse in the 60s. She was arrested for shoplifting. It was a huge scandal. She was sort of crazy. She didn't, for the last 40 years of her life, she was just in her bedroom like Marlene Dietrich and never spoke to anybody. They would come and leave the groceries at the door, and she would scuttle out in the middle of the night to get them. She had another time in 1991 where she was arrested for shoplifting, and she was shoplifting laxatives and eye drops, and nobody should ever have to shoplift laxatives and eye drops. It's very sad. But after she died, everything started coming up roses.
Everything's coming up. She was at her funeral pose.
But she was inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame in 2014, and now people realize that this beautiful, with the most beautiful woman on the planet who never was given any. She was sort of looked down on whenever she said she was an inventor. The men never believed her, and because she was so beautiful, nobody ever took her seriously. And then she was too beautiful for even roles. She was never taken seriously in Hollywood. But we realized that she was this great woman of substance. It's really fascinating. There's a new movie, a new series coming out starring Gal Gadot as Hedy Lamarr, and they're working on it right now.
A series.
It's going to be like a 6-part series or something like that. But she was just a fascinating one. Oh, she also in the 60s, after she was arrested, she wrote a tawdry tell-all book called Ecstasy and Me, in which it was just a series of sexual adventures.
Why do you wait until the end? That's what I want to know.
But then later she said that it was all fiction and that she didn't really write it, but she just needed money for the court
for the X-Lax. And
I, who never reads, have started to buy like some tawdry old Hollywood books. So maybe we need to like store
I have a copy of it. I do have a copy.
We should do a top 10 tawdry Hollywood book expose. Now, I heard what you said about her not being taken seriously because of her looks, and Blake, you're not alone.
No,
you're not
thank
alone.
God.
All three of us can understand that.
Well, in my younger days, I think now Blake has taken the torch. That's Bombshell, the Hedy Lamarr story, currently streaming on Netflix.
Stuff, yeah.
Thanks, James. All right, Blake, take us away at number 2.
Number 2.
Well, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but the NFL, 2 teams on the NFL this next season will feature male NFL cheerleaders.
What?
And one
there
of
are
them,
none? That's the first?
There are none right now. There are teams that have stunt men, but like they don't
stunt queens.
but they don't like cheer along the girls.
They just help boost or something.
Right. These guys will be actually cheering, and happy to say that 2 of them are on the Los Angeles Rams.
So we can go and see them in person.
Yep.
What the LA Rams?
You go to the Rams so often.
I don't. I might go just for the experience. After I go to the VIP lounge at LAX, I'm going to zoom over to the Rams.
Well, are these cute guys, or are they big
pictures?
Flaming?
Yeah, I mean,
it feels like they'd be cute, and flaming is hot now. By the way,
how dare I?
Yes.
Shame.
But think about that.
Shame these queens.
About you're thinking old school, and we do that. But it's the idea that like being femme used to be like, oh, don't show it off too much. Now we live in an age where it's like, bitch, put on some heels and strut.
It's true, and that's sexy and that's hot.
Yes, and those tight jeans.
No,
and
I do remember that George Bush Jr., was a cheerleader.
Our president was a cheerleader in college
at Harvard. Was it?
I think it was Yale.
Yeah.
One of my safety schools, Yale. That makes me happy. But that's interesting. Paul Abdul started as a cheerleader. What are any other famous male cheerleaders?
Well, their names are Quentin Perron and Napoleon Jennings.
I'm going to follow them on Instagram.
Well, Will Ferrell, of course, one of his great characters was
the Sherry O'Terry. Oh my God, make me want to YouTube that. It's kind of interesting moment for the NFL, right? That this is a progressive thing to do. The kneeling at the anthem in protest of black violence. People who are getting the branding wrong on that.
Colin Kaepernick, be still my heart.
And that's an interesting thing that's going on. So the NFL, which I've always felt was kind of evil because I don't watch football. My brother and sister and I love my brother and sister, and they're good people, and they love the Patriots. They're in New England. They get dressed up on a Sunday. They put on like Patriots clothes.
Do they wear the blue and the
Red
red
hats?
paint?
Does that.
They paint?
Yes, and they don't paint yet. But with Brady or my little nephew, and they will sit and watch.
Did they name their Brady after Tom Brady?
His name is Braden, but yeah, and Brady. And the only other thing is I was with them last Christmas, and they were watching the Patriots, and they had some weird ritual. My brother and sister, who totally get along, but like are different people, but they're sitting there, they're both engaged in this. And at one point, my sister was like, if they're not ahead at the halftime, I'm gonna go upstairs and put on my Patriot socks. Like there was some like suspicious thing. They had some, so it was like out of the halftime they weren't ahead. So my sister went up and put on her socks and came back down.
And they were ahead.
The Patriots won.
Yeah,
my sister, the power of my sister's feet.
Yeah, people do believe that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
I only usually watch football once a year during
Super Bowl,
and I do find that there are usually some hot guys that keep me entertained, and I will watch to see some tight ends and some.
I love a see-through white pant with a black undergarment.
Love it.
And last important thing, would you I played football because in my high school you had to play. In my mind, you had to play football to be able to be in court. Like, it was the way of normalizing my queerness. And so I played football, which is the one thing I was not good at that I did anyway. Like, the only thing in my life that I actually disciplined. So I have some pride around the fact that I did something. But there's some picture of me in the yearbook and I have a beard and I'm so sexy. I'm looking back, but I'm pretty sure I'm watching the cheerleaders. In between, I would be like,
so ain't no hollaback girl.
So I like the idea that maybe little boys, and I'm sure they are already, but like, you could be a cheerleader if you want.
Well, just want to say Jesse Hernandez, also the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Jesse Hernandez is their new male cheerleader. So
Okay, Jesse.
Just want to give him a little shout out.
All right, let's follow. We'll link them on the Wow Report. We'll link to their Instagram accounts. Let's support them. NFL male cheerleaders coming to you soon. All right, we're going to take a break, and we are going to reveal the number one thing that made us go, wow, plus our Resistor of the week. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. Come right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We're back. It's the Wow Report. I'm Tom Campbell here with James St. James and Blake Jacobs. And if you're just joining us, we've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go wow. And you're here just in time for us to tell you about what is the number one thing that made us go wow.
I think we can all agree on this one.
Number 1.
Happy 60th birthday, Madonna.
Yeah.
It's not for a few more days, but, you know, we love Madonna. And we were also, I think, guilty as individuals and as a race of picking on Madonna. 60 years old, still never had a drug problem, has raised children, has a family. And this is so stupid, but I'm just going to start listing her hits and stop me when you get bored. La Isla Bonita.
Okay.
Hung Up. Papa Don't Preach. Like a Prayer. Like a Virgin. Frozen. Crazy for You. Take a Bow. Into the Groove. Borderline. Material Girl. 4 Minutes. Live to Tell. Open Your Heart. Lucky Star. Justify My Love. Express Yourself. Dress You Up. Holiday. Cherish. Don't Tell Me. Vogue. Living for Love. Ray of Light. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Girls Gone Wild. Ghost Town. Deeper and Deeper. Music. I mean,
it does. It goes on. It goes on and on and on. And the thing is,
endless.
I don't feel bad for the times that we've bashed Madonna because nobody can be in the public eye for 35 years and just have be on top. You know, she has been up and down, and that's what we love her for.
It's true.
The fact, I think now we're beginning to reevaluate where she stands in music history because when she's down, we tend to bash her, but she really is somebody who is there has never been anybody that has been consistently famous for, you know, the Beatles were around for 10 years. Elvis Presley really had about 5 or 6 years, and then he had to come back, and then he went back out. All the great, the Doors were not around. They were around for 4 years, something like that. So you have all these great people who have been, who really don't have the staying power that she has had, the tenacity that this woman has clung to her fame, and you got to give it up to that.
And this word's overused when it comes to her, but the reinvention, the different musical styles, the different producers, and yet she stays relevant.
And she's always been A-list to me.
There has
she
never
never
been a time.
falls off
Exactly.
A-list.
She's never not been one of the most powerful people on the planet.
And as a woman, I mean, I hate to make the Hillary Clinton comparison, but women get treated differently in the world. They get treated differently in the business. And Madonna reinvented or redefined all of that. And we still hold her some of the standards. The fact that she dresses crazy, the fact that she has, a 6-year-old woman's face that's been, who cares?
Well, but I will say about her, because about 5 years ago, maybe about 10 years, she had some wonky plastic surgery that everyone was having weird plastic surgery at the time. Meg Griffin, Cher, everybody, we all made fun of it. But now to see her on the cover of the Vogue, the Italian Vogue, and she's in Portugal, and she looks absolutely spectacular. She looks so beautiful, like how I wanted her to look as an old woman.
Yes,
she really is just, a rare beauty.
But I don't think she even looks like an old woman. That's the good thing. She didn't do drugs. She worked out all the time.
Yeah, and the plastic surgery now has sort of everything is sunken into the looking exactly right. It's not like she doesn't have the weird cheeks.
I love the Vogue cover, and the words are just just one day out of life.
Yeah.
And that you read that, and you're just like, oh my God, I was 1983. I heard that song, Celebrate.
The opening chords of Borderline. I heard that the other day on the car. I had to pull over because it really just makes me choke up. It takes me back to that time when it was so new and fresh and the world was just opening up.
My first Madonna tape was Like a Prayer, because I was in kindergarten then, and I used to bring it to nap time and the teacher would play it. And we lived so far out in the country that we used to burn our trash in barrels. So the video, was the burning crucifixes.
Yes.
So I would dance in front of it, singing Like a Prayer.
5-year-old Blake with a little bowl cut, probably.
Big beard.
Big beard. 5 years old.
The cigarette in his hand.
I have to say, Blake kind of beats us. He's been a Madonna fan since he was 5 years old. That's pretty damn good.
I know. Yeah? I was going off to college when it was Lucky Star was really big that summer.
I was in college. Jonathan Sapers, who's still a Facebook friend, lived above us. He's straight, but he was so into music, like the hippest guy, and he was like running down with his Walkman, which I didn't have a Walkman. And he's listen to this. He was this gregarious guy, and he put it on. I heard like Born Lane, and I was like, "What is it, Minnie Mouse?" He goes, "No, it's Madonna." And then he ran by, but it was like this magical moment of like someone being kissed by an angel. Like, listen to this. Like, what?
But
it's
I just
Madonna.
remember the first time you saw the Gautier skirt with the Keith Haring print on it and the rubber bracelets and the hair that was all out and the 5 earrings, and just that look was just so because we were at the time, if you recall, the Brits were having that moment, and this was the turning point where all of a sudden Cyndi Lauper and Madonna came in, and all of a sudden the Americans were going to have their moment on MTV, and they were the first ones of that wave that brought in.
And she's always been political. In her being, but also in her words, and she's an advocate for HIV and AIDS when nobody was talking about it, and talking to straight people about protection and right now the way we can all celebrate Madonna's birthday is she has on Facebook, because she's up to speed, she has a Raise Malawi in honor of Madonna's birthday fundraiser. You can find it on Facebook. They have already, it's up until the end of the month. In 8 days, they've raised $199,000. They wanted to get 60. So they're way over.
Wow.
But I'm a little opposed to giving money through Facebook and to friends and things, but I'm going to give money to Madonna. I'm going to do it right now.
Me too.
I am. I'm doing it right now. What else? Anything else?
Yeah, I do want to say the Resistor of the Week real quick is I want to say Mike Pence is our Vice President Mike Pence is our Resistor of the Week.
And why is that?
CNN has unearthed some old tapes of a radio show that he did back in the 90s when he was governor, and he's talking about Bill Clinton, and he's saying that presidents should be held to a higher moral standard than anybody else, that the president has the power to incinerate the planet if things go wrong, and by God, he should be a good person, and if they have marriage infidelity, if they're cheating on their wives, they should definitely be impeached. This is something that the American people should not put up with. And he's talking about Bill Clinton, but it all goes straight back to what a fucking hypocrite he is, because he's just going on and on and on about how we need the president to be a decent, honorable person. And when you told just what a simpering little mealy mouth piece of crap he is.
Resistor of the Week.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say it. I stand with Mike Pence. Yes. We the Wow Report, go on record. We stand with Mike Pence. Yes. All right. Well, this was a joy. We miss you, Fenton. Please come back. It's nice to have Blake at the table. Always nice to have James in whatever mood he arrives, just expressing his truth. It really is.
Wait a minute, am I sometimes
No, you're like weather in New England. They say in New England, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute. So you're every it's mosquito season today, but you're good.
I feel bad sometimes. No. I'm mean to you guys.
No.
Sometimes I yell.
No, we're much meaner to you off air.
But right before you go, I just wanted to bring up, for the first time in DragCon history, RuPaul will be hitting up the runway and doing a series of Ru Talks.
Yeah, there's the DragCon in New York. It's happening
September 28th, 29th, and 30th.
Last 3 days in New York at Javits Center. And Ru in the past has had lines around the block, but he's been in his booth meeting people one-on-one. And this year he's trying something a little differently than New York Drag Con, where he's going to be on the stage. He's going to be holding kind of symposiums and talking with people. So
getting a little political sometimes, I think.
A little political,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll definitely be out and about and more visible to everybody, which I think is what he wanted to do. You know, it's nice being in a booth signing all day, but I think it
gets hard. It's hard.
Writer's cramp.
Yeah.
And definitely see him Saturday, September 29th at 1 p.m. He'll be hosting an intimate 101
That's right.
conversation with Charles M. Blow.
From the New York Times.
That's fascinating.
Drag
yeah.
has come a long way, baby. All right.
Wait, no, it isn't.
There's more plugs?
Yeah, there is one more plug. Freak Show is on Hulu. It started August 1st.
Show.
Awesome.
Freak Show, the movie with Bette Midler that is based on James St. James' novel Freak Show.
Available on Hulu.
I've seen it. I love it. I would see it again.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, everyone go.
All right.
Watch it now.
Until
I saw it with Robert Downey Jr.
You did. Yes, he was in the front row.
Okay. Now,
And he said hello to me.
I was thinking this would be a good time for me to say, until next time, go out and do something that makes the world go wow. See you next week.